The Forbidden Face. The space station ZK-9 floated in the cold vacuum like a rusty coin lost in time. Its metal walls were cracked, its lights flickering. Aliens from every corner of the galaxy walked through its narrow corridors. But even in this busy place, some corners remained silent. In one of those corners sat a girl no one dared to approach. She had silver eyes, glowing faintly like moonlight. Her skin was pale blue, dry, and cracked in places as if something inside her was broken. Her hair was long and white, hanging over her shoulders like a ghost's veil. Her body was slim, fragile, and quiet. Everyone knew her name, but no one ever said it. They called her cursed. They said her touch killed. They whispered she was part machine, part something else. Something that should not exist. No one dared to sit near her. No one made eye contact. She just sat there, on the cold station bench, with nothing but silence around her. Until one day, a human arrived. His name was Jason Ward, a repair technician, from Earth. His ship had broken down after a long cargo run and he came to ZK-9 looking for parts. He was tall, wearing a faded jacket and boots covered in stardust. He didn't look like a hero, just another traveler. Jason noticed something strange. The entire station felt alive with noise, except for that one bench in the corner. Every alien walked around it like it was infected, and there she sat, alone, watching the floor. Jason's curiosity got the better of him. He walked toward her, ignoring the looks from the other aliens. A reptilian merchant hissed, "Don't go near her, human. She's not safe." Jason looked at the merchant, then back at the girl. She hadn't even moved. He shrugged and walked closer. She didn't look dangerous to him. She looked tired. He sat down beside her, leaving a respectful space. She didn't speak. Neither did he. He opened a small packet of food from his satchel, Earth-style protein bars. He unwrapped one, took a bite, then offered the other half to her. For the first time, she turned her head slowly. Her eyes, glowing faintly, stared at him with quiet confusion. "Want some?" he asked casually. She looked at the food, then at him. And after a long pause, she slowly reached out her hand. The nearby aliens gasped softly, stepping away. Some watched in horror, waiting for Jason to scream in pain, for his skin to melt, for the curse to take hold. But nothing happened. Her fingers gently took the bar from his hand. Her touch was cold, but soft. She bit the bar carefully, like she hadn't eaten real food in a long time. Jason smiled. "Name's Jason," he said, leaning back. She chewed slowly, then swallowed. Her voice came out soft, almost broken. "Why do you find me beautiful, human?" Jason blinked. "What?" She lowered her head. "You looked at me like I wasn't a monster." Jason scratched the back of his neck. "Because you're not?" No one had ever said that to her before. She turned her face away, as if hiding something ugly. "I was made in a lab. They tried to turn me into something useful. But I was not strong enough. They threw me away." Jason's voice was quiet. "That's not your fault. I am not like them, not like you. I am broken." Jason looked at her face. Yes, her skin had lines like old paper and her eyes looked older than the stars. But in that moment, he didn't see a monster. He saw someone who had suffered in silence, someone who had never been seen. "You're not broken," he said, gently. "You're just alone." She didn't answer. He stood up to leave, but before he walked away, he said, "I'll be back tomorrow." The girl sat still. The half-eaten protein bar rested in her lap. As Jason disappeared into the crowd, she looked down at her hand. She could still feel the warmth of his fingers, and for the first time in many years, her heart beat just a little faster. Jason came back the next day, just like he said. The space station was still loud and crowded. Aliens shouted over prices, ships groaned in old hangars, and security drones floated by with blinking lights. But in that one lonely corner, everything was still the same, except her eyes. They were watching the crowd now, not empty and distant, but searching for one human face. When she saw him, her fingers curled slightly in her lap, unsure. He walked toward her with the same casual steps, no fear, no rush. He sat beside her again, close enough to speak, far enough to give her space. No one else had ever done that. Not before him? She whispered. You returned? Jason grinned. I said I would. She tilted her head slightly. Her voice was soft. No one ever returns. Jason opened his bag and pulled out another food bar. He handed it to her without saying anything. This time she took it right away. As she ate in silence, Jason finally asked, What's your name? She looked at him, unsure. They called me Subject V13, sometimes Vetra. Jason nodded. Then Vetra it is. She looked away. It is not a real name. It is a code. Well, he said, leaning back against the wall, I think it sounds nice. Vetra blinked, like that simple sentence confused her more than any machine ever had. Minutes passed. The station kept moving, but that corner felt like a bubble, quiet and still. Jason pulled out a small tool from his pocket. He started fixing a broken scanner part on his lap, just keeping his hands busy. Vetra watched him closely. What are you doing? She asked. Fixing this, he replied. It's from my ship. She leaned in slightly, her silver eyes studying the tool. You use such old equipment. Jason chuckled. It's all I can afford. Silence again. But this time, it felt less heavy. Then, she made a mistake. She reached out her hand to touch the tool in his palm. Jason didn't flinch. He didn't pull back. He let her do it. Their fingers touched. She froze. For a heartbeat, her whole body went still. Her face tightened like she expected pain, or worse. But nothing happened. Her skin didn't burn his. Her blood didn't poison his. His heart didn't stop. She stared at his hand in shock. Jason looked at her gently. Feels normal to me. No. No, this isn't right, she whispered. Everyone else, when they touched me, they screamed. They said it was pain. One man even bled. Jason kept holding her hand, calm and warm. Then maybe they were wrong. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't understand, she said, voice shaking. Why are you not afraid? Jason's voice was low. Because I don't believe in curses. Vetra's hand trembled in his. She had forgotten what warmth felt like. Not the heat of fire, but the warmth of someone choosing not to leave. Jason gently let go. Vetra stared at her fingers like they were strangers. I was built to hurt, she said. Not to hold. No, Jason replied. You were built to survive. She looked at him again, this time with something new in her eyes. Hope. Just then, a group of alien guards walked by. One of them, a tall insectoid officer, saw them together and hissed. You, human, stay away from that thing. She is not safe. Jason stood up slowly. She's not a thing and she's not dangerous. The guard raised a clawed arm. Touch her again and you'll regret it. Jason didn't back down. Already did. And I feel fine. The alien scoffed and walked away. Vetra's voice was barely a whisper. They hate me. They don't know you, Jason replied. But I want to. She didn't answer, but her eyes followed him closely this time. Before he left, Jason said one more thing. Same time tomorrow? Vetra nodded once. When he disappeared into the crowd again, she looked down at her hand. The place where they touched still tingled. Soft and warm. She had spent her whole life believing her touch was poison. But now, maybe, just maybe, She could believe in something else. Jason waited for her this time. He leaned against the cold wall outside the station's food court, pretending to fix a scanner, but his eyes kept watching the dark hallway nearby. The hallway where Vetra always came from. When she appeared, her head was lowered, silver hair hiding her face. But when she saw Jason, something changed. Her steps grew lighter. Her eyes flickered with quiet fire. He smiled. "Morning." She didn't speak, but walked right past him and whispered, "Follow me." Jason blinked. "Now?" She kept walking. Without hesitation, he tucked the scanner into his pack and followed her down the corridor. They moved through winding passages of the old station, deeper and darker than he'd ever been. The walls were rusted, lights flickered, and strange noises echoed like the ghosts of forgotten machines. "Where are we going?" he asked. "You want to know who I am?" she said. "I will show you." They reached a sealed hatch with alien markings on it. Vetra pressed her hand against a faded control pad. The panel hissed and clicked, and the door slid open. Jason stepped into a hidden lab. The room was cold, metallic, forgotten. Broken screens flickered on cracked walls. Old stasis pods lined one side of the room, some still glowing faintly. There were strange machines covered in dust, tubes filled with thick green fluid, and medical chairs with restraints. Jason's stomach twisted. This was no lab. It was a testing chamber. Vetra walked to the center, staring at a broken table where faded straps hung loose. "I was made here," she said. "Right there." Jason walked slowly, his boots echoing on the metal floor. What is this place?" "A black lab," she replied. "Run by the Zarnak Collective. They wanted a weapon that could pass as one of their enemies. A hybrid. Me." Jason looked at her differently now, not with fear, but with deep understanding. "They made you in this room?" "Yes. My blood is mixed. My bones are reinforced. My skin was adjusted. They wanted me to kill without effort." She looked away. "But I didn't. I couldn't. I felt too much." Jason stepped closer. "So they threw you out?" "They said I was broken, flawed, useless." Jason looked at the machines. Some were still humming softly. He knelt down near a control panel and brushed off the dust. He found a memory core still active. "Mind if I see what they wrote about you?" he asked. Vetra didn't stop. He activated the terminal. Blue light flickered. Logs appeared. Test subjects' failures. Then her name, V13. Too emotional. Refused to execute simulation. Shut down project. Jason read slowly. "They didn't stop because you were weak. They stopped because you were human." Vetra looked up, startled. "They wanted a monster," he said. "But you had a heart that scared them." She turned to a cracked mirror on the wall. "I hate this face." "Why?" Jason asked gently. "It's a face no one trusts, not even me." Jason stepped forward, standing behind her. "Then let me be the first." She didn't speak, just watched their reflections, hers, with glowing silver eyes and dry blue skin, and his, warm and steady beside her. Jason reached into his bag and pulled out a small portable med unit. "I repaired this. It's a basic regen pod. Might help your skin." Vetra's eyes widened. "Why would you fix that for me?" He looked at her seriously. "Because everyone deserves a second chance." She stared at the pod, then at him. Slowly, she placed her hand inside it. The device hummed, glowing softly around her palm. And as it worked, some of the cracks in her skin began to fade, just a little. She gasped, eyes wide. "It's warm." Jason smiled. "Good, it's working." They sat together in silence for a while, no longer strangers. Then Vetra asked, in a voice so quiet he almost missed it, "Why do you say I'm beautiful?" Jason looked straight into her eyes. "Because you survived the worst and still chose not to be like them. That's beautiful." No one had ever told her that. Not once. not even in a lie. In that forgotten lab, where she had once been built as a weapon, she finally felt like a person. And as they left the room, the old machines flickered behind them, like even they knew something had changed. The lights in the abandoned lab flickered one last time. Then something blinked red. Deep within the shadows of the control panel Jason had activated, a hidden beacon came alive. A silent signal pulsed through the void, traveling fast, reaching places that should have stayed forgotten, and far away something answered. Back at the marketplace in Station ZK9, things felt different. Vetra walked beside Jason, no longer hiding, in corners. She still kept her hood up, but her steps were steadier, her eyes no longer fixed on the ground. Jason had helped her skin heal slightly with the med pod. It wasn't much, but for her, it was the first time in years that something got better instead of worse. They sat in a quiet booth sharing a meal. She was beginning to smile just a little. But then the siren screamed. Unidentified warship approaching. Security lockdown engaged. All civilians to designated shelters. Jason stood up fast. That's not normal traffic. Vetra's eyes turned wide. Her voice cracked. They found me. Jason froze. Who? The ones who built me. The Zarnak Collective. Jason grabbed her hand. We have to move, now. They ran through the station as doors slammed shut behind them. Drones flew overhead. Soldiers marched in panic. No one knew who the incoming ship was, but Vetra did. They'll try to take me back, she said, breathless. Jason pulled her down a side corridor. Over my dead body. She stopped suddenly, grabbing his jacket. Jason, listen. If they catch me, they won't just kill me. They'll rebuild me, turn me into the weapon they wanted. I won't be me anymore. He looked into her silver eyes, full of fear and fire. Then we don't let them catch you. But the station was no longer safe. Elite Zarnak hunters had already boarded. Black armored aliens with glowing red visors stormed the halls, scanning every living face. Their weapons were designed for precision. Their scanners were tuned to only one signal. Hers. Jason and Vetra reached the lower maintenance tunnels. But before they could crawl through, a beam of red light struck the wall beside them. Target located. Do not let her escape. Jason turned and fired his small plasma tool, barely enough to dent their armor. He grabbed a pipe and swung it with all his strength. He bought only seconds, but it was enough. Vetra pulled him through the maintenance shaft, and they rolled out into an old hangar filled with scrap ships. Jason coughed, holding his bruised shoulder. We need to hide your signal. She nodded. There's one way. I know where they store my tracker code. It's inside the Zarnak mothership. Jason blinked. You want us to board their ship? It's the only way to stop them from chasing me forever, she said. Jason looked at the sky through the cracked hangar ceiling. The dark warship loomed above, circling like a predator. Then we steal a ship, he said. Vetra's voice was shaking. Jason, you could die. He smiled through the pain. You're worth the risk. Inside the hangar, they found an old two-seater shuttle buried under parts. Jason got to work fast, overriding the controls while Vetra adjusted the shields. Above them, Zarnak soldiers were closing in. Jason looked at her. Once we're up there, no turning back. Vetra's silver eyes met his. Then let's not turn back. The engines roared to life just as the doors exploded open. Red blasts filled the air as the shuttle lifted from the ground. Soldiers shouted, weapons fired, but they were too late. The ship shot into space, heading straight for danger. In the silent vacuum between stars, the tiny shuttle approached the massive Zarnak vessel. It was shaped like a claw, black, twisted, and ancient. Its surface pulsed with red lights like veins. Jason's voice was low. We'll sneak in through their exhaust grid. I've seen this class of ship before. Vetra's hands gripped the controls. I know where they keep the tracking codes. Deep inside, but the place is locked down. Jason nodded. Then we break in. She glanced at him, her voice softer now. Why do you keep doing this for me? Jason leaned back in his seat. Because you're the only one who ever made me feel like I mattered. Even before you believed in yourself, I did. Vetra blinked fast, turning her eyes away. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. Not until him. As the shuttle disappeared into the enemy ship's shadow, a whisper echoed in the stars. The ones who made her were coming, but she was no longer alone. The shuttle slipped through the exhaust shaft like a shadow. Heat shimmered around the hull and warning lights blinked red inside the small cockpit. Jason wiped sweat from his brow. We're flying inside a warship's stomach. Vetra's fingers danced across the controls. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were locked forward. This is where I was born. Jason glanced at her. Are you sure you want to go back? She didn't look at him. No, but I must. The ship rumbled as they entered the ventilation system. Pipes hissed, turbines groaned. One wrong move and they'd be ashes. But Vetra knew the way. She remembered every dark hallway, every cold room, every pain, because she had lived it. And now she was going back, not as a subject, but as someone who had found her name, her voice, her choice. They landed in a hidden maintenance dock inside the massive Zarnak mothership. The place smelled of old chemicals and fire. Robotic arms moved above, sparks falling like snow. Jason grabbed a small toolkit and plasma cutter. Let's move fast. They ran through the maintenance tunnels, past old machines humming with low energy. Vetra led the way. The core room is ahead. That's where they keep all subject data, including my tracker code. Jason followed close. Once we delete it, they won't be able to trace you anymore. But it's not just about me, she said, her voice shaking. There are others. They kept the failed ones in stasis. Like me. Jason stopped. They're still alive? She nodded. Barely. They're waiting alone. Forgotten. Jason looked at her, then tightened his grip on the cutter. Then we're saving them too. They reached the core room. Huge metal doors blocked their way. 2 security drones hovered above, scanning. Jason pointed. I'll draw them away, you cut the door. Before she could stop him, he ran out, swinging a metal rod. The drones fired warning shots, but Jason moved fast, jumping, sliding, dodging every beam. Vetra rushed to the panel. Her fingers glowed faintly as she interfaced with the old Zarnak tech. Sparks flew. The door unlocked with a loud hiss. Jason, inside, now! He dove through just as a drone's beam scorched the ground behind him. They slammed the doors shut. Inside, the core room glowed with pulsing red light. Giant cylinders lined the walls, each filled with glowing data crystals. In the center, a pillar stretched from floor to ceiling, alive with electric light. Vetra walked to it, hands trembling. This is where they wrote my code. Jason watched her carefully. Can you rewrite it? She nodded slowly. Yes, but I need time. He stood beside her. Then I'll hold them off. Suddenly, alarms wailed. A cold voice echoed across. The ship. Subject V-13 detected in core room. Retrieval team activated. Jason looked toward the door. They're coming. Vetra placed her glowing fingers into the pillar. Energy surged through her veins, lighting her eyes bright silver. She winced but didn't stop. Jason grabbed his tool and stood guard. The first enemy appeared, a towering armored alien with razor arms and a single red eye. Jason charged. They fought hard, Jason ducking and slashing with raw force. He wasn't a soldier, but he was determined, and that made him dangerous. More guards followed. Vetra screamed behind him, not in fear but in pain. The code was fighting back. It's rewriting me, she cried. Jason slammed a guard to the ground. Then fight harder. I'm trying. Electricity danced up her arms. Her skin cracked, glowing from inside. Jason was knocked back, bleeding. He crawled toward her. Vetra, listen to me. Her voice broke. I can't stop it. I'm losing control. Jason reached out and grabbed her hand. Warm. Human. Real. Then don't fight alone. Their hands locked. The code flickered, then changed color. Blue light spread across the core pillar. The alarms died. The red glow turned soft and white. Vetra collapsed in Jason's arms, breathing hard. "It's done," she whispered. "They can't track me anymore." Jason held her tight. "You did it." She looked up at him. Her voice was weak. "Jason, the stasis pods. Can we free them?" He nodded, wiping blood from his cheek. "Let's bring them home." They moved to the lower levels. There, behind thick glass, were dozens of pods, each holding hybrids like Vetra. Some had mechanical limbs, some had glowing eyes. All of them looked broken and alone. Vetra stepped forward, touching the control pad. One by one, the pods began to open. Soft gas hissed. Eyes blinked open. Hands reached out. Jason watched them awaken. And then he looked at Vetra, standing tall, her skin still glowing faintly from the code's power. She had returned to the place that made her, and burned the chains behind her. Smoke drifted through the air. Lights flickered like dying stars, but inside the cold halls of the Zarnak mothership, something new was happening. The forgotten hybrids were awake. Some blinked in confusion. Others cried softly, feeling air on their skin for the first time in years. Metal limbs twitched, glowing veins pulsed, but none of them moved until they saw her. Vetra. She stood at the center of them all, her cracked blue skin glowing softly. Her silver eyes met theirs, eyes that once knew pain, fear, and isolation. Now, they knew purpose. One small hybrid girl, no older than a child, stepped forward. Her voice shook. Are you one of us?" Vetra knelt before her. "I am, and I'm here to take you away from this place." Jason watched from the side, holding his plasma cutter like a sword. His arm was bandaged, blood soaking through his jacket, but he refused to sit. The moment was too big, too important. Vetra turned to him. "We need to get them out. Can the shuttle carry this many?" Jason winced. "It'll groan. But yeah, I'll make it work." The ship's intercom crackled. Security lockdown engaged. Escape attempt detected. Deadly force authorized. Jason cursed under his breath. "They're sending the death squads." Vetra stood. She wasn't afraid anymore. "They will not touch them," she said firmly. "Not while I'm still breathing." Jason stepped beside her. "You won't face them alone." They led the group through the metal halls, Jason guiding them through forgotten paths, Vetra watching every shadow. Suddenly, a shriek echoed ahead. A squad of Zarnak hunters appeared, weapons ready, their visors locked onto the hybrids. Vetra stepped forward alone. One of the guards laughed coldly. "V13, the failure returns. You think protecting them makes you strong?" Vetra raised her hands. "No, but loving them does." And then she moved. Not like before. Not like the frightened girl on the station bench. She moved like someone who had finally believed she mattered. Her glowing hands sliced through the air, hacking into their helmets, blinding them with pulses of energy. She moved with grace, speed, and fury. Jason stood behind, protecting the younger hybrids, watching Vetra take back every piece of herself that they tried to break. When the last Zarnak hunter fell, silence returned. The hybrids looked at her with wide eyes, not with fear, but awe. Jason limped forward. "Are you okay?" Vetra turned. Her eyes sparkled. "I don't feel broken anymore." They reached the dock where the shuttle was hidden. Jason quickly adjusted the power cells to hold extra passengers. "Systems are overloaded," he said. "We have 5 minutes before this baby melts." Vetra helped the hybrids inside. She held their hands. Whispers filled the shuttle. "She saved us. She's not like them. She's not a monster." Jason opened the pilot seat. Time to go, but Vetra didn't move. He looked at her. "Vetra?" She stared at the massive core tower of the mothership glowing in the distance. "If I leave, they'll find others. They'll make more. Hurt more." Jason stepped close. "Then let's destroy the place." She looked up at him. He expected a speech. Instead, she kissed his forehead. Warm, soft, real. You were the first one who ever saw me. He smiled. And now everyone else will too. Jason flew the shuttle while Vetra stood at the rear bay, her fingers glowing with the Zarnak code still inside her. As the ship lifted off, she sent a final command through the system, deep into the heart of the mothership. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Below, alarms screamed. Lights turned red. The ship, the prison where she was born, began to fall apart from within. The shuttle shook as they escaped into space. Flames burst behind them. One of the hybrid kids grabbed Jason's hand in fear. He squeezed back. We're going home. When they reached the outer colony moon, people came running. Doctors, engineers, guards, all shocked to see the shuttle, packed with children and strange survivors, but the center of their attention was her. Vetra stepped down first, holding the hybrid girl's hand. A human officer looked at her with suspicion. Who are you? She stood tall and said, someone who was made to destroy, but chose to protect. Jason stepped beside her, arm in a sling. She's the reason we're all still alive. The officer looked around at the frightened but safe survivors, and nodded. The crowd slowly opened a path for them. Vetra walked forward for the first time not as a test subject, but as someone believed in, and when a child asked, "Are you a hero now?" Vetra smiled. No, I'm just someone who finally believed I could be. The new colony was nothing like the cold metal halls of the Zarnak ship. Here the skies were orange and soft. The wind carried the scent of flowers. The sun rose gently over crystal blue mountains. And for the first time, Vetra felt warmth on her skin, not from machines or lasers, but from light, but from real light. The survivors had been given shelter in the outer edge of the colony. Human engineers worked day and night to build safe homes from the scrap of old ships. Medical teams treated the hybrids, carefully, patiently, with no fear in their eyes. And Vetra? She walked among them like a quiet legend. Children followed her. Some called her the lady with the silver eyes. Others just held her hand and smiled. No one ran from her anymore. No one whispered, "Monster." Jason sat on a crate outside the small field hospital, his shoulder freshly patched. His eyes were tired, but he couldn't stop watching Vetra from afar. She laughed, not loudly, but real laughter. She was helping a hybrid boy balance on metal legs. A week ago, she didn't even believe she was worthy of kindness. Now she gave it freely. Dr. Helan, a calm alien nurse with feathered skin, sat beside Jason and handed him a cup of cool water. She changed the children, Helan said softly. They sleep better. They speak, some even smile. Jason nodded. She changed me too. Helan looked at him. Will she stay? Jason looked down. That's not up to me. Later that evening, the Colony Council called a public gathering. Humans, aliens, hybrids, all gathered in the central field under the silver blue sky. The council leader, a tall elder named Captain Rourke, stepped forward. We welcome our rescued guests. Those who were forgotten, who were abandoned by cruelty, Rourke said. But there is one among them. Who led them out? All eyes turned to Vetra. Jason watched as she stepped forward, calm and quiet. Her hair shimmered in the wind. She wore a simple cloth wrap, not armor, not rags, just something that felt human and hers. Rourke nodded. What is your name, child? She looked at the crowd. Their eyes did not carry fear, only hope. I was once called V13, she said. Then they called me Vetra. She turned toward Jason. But now, I choose my own name. He held his breath. My name is Vea. It means alive in the old hybrid tongue. Jason smiled. Vea. A name not given to her. A name she claimed. The crowd clapped. Softly at first, then louder. Not forced, not out of pity, out of respect. In the days that followed, Vea worked beside the engineers. She helped build shelters for others. She learned to grow food. She helped teach the children how to use their gifts without fear. Jason stayed too. He didn't say it out loud, but something in him had changed. He had come to fix a broken ship, and ended up fixing something far more important. Vea joined him one evening on a hill overlooking the colony. The stars above were bright, no longer hidden by metal ceilings. "You stayed," she said. He chuckled. "I thought I might get bored back on Earth." She smiled. "You still don't fear me? I think you're the strongest person I've ever met." She looked at him. "Even now, I still don't understand why you chose me." Jason turned to her. His voice was soft. "Because when I looked at you, I didn't see a weapon. I saw someone who never had a choice, but who made the right one anyway." Vea looked down at her hand. The cracks were mostly healed now. She opened her fingers and took his hand in hers, not trembling, not afraid. "I used to think no one could love someone like me," she whispered. He leaned in close. "And now?" She smiled. "Now I believe." A message later arrived from the Galactic Union. An official record was made. Subject V-13, presumed destroyed Vea of ZK-9 colony, recognized as independent citizen, Jason Ward, commended for humanitarian rescue. No more. Codes, no more chains, just names, and the stars were watching.